So Richard, welcome to New York. I understand you flew in today, the first destination that Virgin Atlantic ever flew to, so you must be very excited to finally open up this hotel here.
Yeah, we've had a lot happening in New York over the years. 40 years next year. We did the first Virgin Atlantic flight to Newark. We were actually the first airline anywhere in the world to fly to Newark. Everybody thought we were a bit mad. You had to go to JFK if you came to New York. But our wonderful team thought, let's do something different. Nobody else flies to New York. And so, screw it, let's do it. We did it. And over those last 39 years, people have kept saying, we love being loyal, we love flying on Virgin Atlantic, but when you get us to New York, you dump us on the street, and we haven't got the Virgin experience. And so it's taken us a long time to be able to sit here.
There you go.
And be in the Virgin Hotel in New York, just off Times Square, which also has many memories for us of tanks crushing Coca-Cola bottles and coming down the front of the Virgin Megastore with not a lot of clothes on. But anyway, it's great to be back with a bang with the Virgin Hotel.
You've always been a visionary. You were the first one basically to introduce flatbeds on the transatlantic, private televisions on every seat inside your Boeing 747s. Now you replace those 747s with brand new A350-1000s, 787 Dreamliners, and recently the A330neos, which are now flying to JFK from London. So my question to you is, you saw that a long time ago. Today, how do you see Virgin in the next 40 years?
Well, we pride ourselves at being the cleanest airline flying. In any decision we make, we're going for the cleanest planes, the newest planes. And so far, I think we still have that mantle. And we'll continue to innovate and try to keep that over the next 40 years. We have a flight coming up that is completely clean fuels. It's still a way to go before we can get all our flights that way, but it's setting a trend in the right direction.
Excellent. Talking about sustainability and the future, today you are an airline with 40 aircraft versus the roughly 300 planes that British Airways has. I always loved the way you competed against them, and it was a very visual and a very attractive way. So my question to you is, how do you keep up with that? And if you have like an active presence in your day-to-day business with them?
Being this sort of small underdog going back many years, we had to fight tooth and nail to get attention. I think a couple of our most famous incidents was big posters all over London. We gave massages, BA didn't, but the poster said BA don't give a shiatsu. And then when they were sponsoring the Eye, which is the big wheel outside opposite the House of Commons, I had a call at 6:30 one morning saying they had a technical problem. But now we happen to own an airship company that was about an hour from London, and we scrambled the airship and we flew over the wheel, and it just said, BA can't get it up. Now, these sorts of things just got us the headlines rather than British Airways. It made people smile, and it got Virgin Atlantic known. And at the same time, I'd be jumping on a boat from New York and trying to beat the transatlantic record for the fastest boat across the Atlantic. The first time I tried it, I sank. The second time, which actually the British quite like an underdog, so it's made me quite lucky I sank the first time. But the second time, we picked ourselves up and we were successful. And likewise, then we thought, well, let's see if we can be the first to fly a hot air balloon across the Atlantic. And the first time we sank. Anyway, but we got the record in the end for the first to cross the Atlantic, and that built the Virgin brand. It was things like this. The other thing that built the Virgin brand was quality, and just being very different to British Airways. And then the staff have always been just wonderful at Virgin. They smile, they're happy. Some of them may not be young anymore, but they've got just as much life as they had many years ago. And so the need for me to be out front and center is nowhere near as great as it used to be. I mean, I just did a fun stunt in a London taxi, decked out with the A330neo stuff inside it. So I'll still do those sorts of things, but the need is not as great as it was in the early days. So I think 40 years from now we're part of a powerful grouping that should survive and thrive.
Wonderful. Last question I have for you. You've conquered many things. You've conquered air with Virgin Atlantic. You've been to space. Now the sea, and of course with hotels, sea and air, you have all those things together for a different business. So my question to you is the plan complete, or do you have more ideas, more developments coming in the future?
I'm sure there will be other projects that will come along, but we're very, very, very proud of Virgin Voyages. It's a great addition to the Virgin Group of companies. Just won Cruise Critic magazines, all 5 awards, which has never been done before. The team just got the quality right. It's a fun ship to go on, and I think something like 40% of people who go on it book again before they get off it. And we've also opened the market to sort of something like 35% of new people who've never been on cruises before. So we got one, something which we're working on, which is quite exciting in that area, which we will be announcing in a few months' time. But we're always keeping our eyes open for new ideas. This December I'll be flying to Australia to launch Virgin Voyages down there. The immediate future, within the next 2 or 3 months, Virgin Galactic will be back in space again. And then we've got a whole list of quite exciting things that Virgin Galactic are going to be doing. Anyway, those are the things that are all going well. Obviously, when you're an entrepreneur, you're going to have your hits as well. And I appreciate you for not pressing me on some of those. But that's what comes with being an entrepreneur. But by and large, Virgin's doing great. So thank you.
Thank you again for joining us, and thank you for having me here at your beautiful hotel.